Recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Alderman Betts to lead us in a word of prayer after. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day that you have given to each of us to live. Pray that in this day that we have honored and glorified you for being our God. Ask you, Lord, that as we enter into this meeting, I pray, Lord, that you'll help us to make wise decisions. Thank you for what you have done for us and the city. Lord, in this year of difficulty, help us, Lord, to count the blessings that we have, because we know that it all comes from you. We pray for your mercy and your grace. For Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Okay.
Yeah, we're here close to me, okay?
Clerk, if you would do roll call for us.
Town of Vidalia Board of Aldermen roll call for a regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen dated December 8th, 2020. Alderman Betts.
Present.
Alderwoman Denby.
Present.
Alderman Gardner. Mayor, let the record show that Alderman Gardner is present and accounted for via telephone under the state open meetings laws currently in place. Alderman Probst. Alderman Smith. Mayor, let the record show a quorum of the boards present and accounted for.
All right, thank you very much. First thing we have is approval of our minutes from our previous meeting. Is there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Alderman Betts. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Alderman Denby. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. We come to the public comment section of our agenda, where anything on our agenda you can comment on. This is a time that we normally allow people to speak. However, I will ask that those who want to speak on behalf of the request of the cemetery that we will deliberate that and listen to the Cemetery Association's request at that time, and we can talk about that then, okay? So is there any other agenda item anybody got a question about before we move on public comment? There not being any questions, we're going to go on to item 1 on our agenda, which is our financial statement for October 2020 by Deborah Moak, our CPA.
Tonight's financial statements include the balance sheet as of October 31st, 2020, the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the 4 months ending October 31st, 2020, a summary budget to actual comparison by fund, and a detailed budget to actual comparison by department. These financial statements have been distributed to all departments for their review. In summary, the town has combined cash in the bank of $7.3 million, including $5.4 million in the hydro and $904,000 in the sales tax fund. And we have investments of $3.9 million, which include $2.4 million in the hydro reserve fund and $1.5 million in the general fund. Total assets is $34.8 million. Total liabilities is $6.4 million, for a fund balance, combined fund balance of $28.4 million. The statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance for the 4 months ending October 31st, 2020 indicates combined revenues of $10.8 million, or 29% of total revenue, which is 4% under budget. Total expenditures of $12.6 million, or 35% of total expenditures. Expenditures are over budgeted by 5%, for a change in net position of a negative $1.7 million. The negative change in net position is due to revenues have not caught up with the timing of the expenditures. We should see this negative position turn around over the next several months as ad valorem taxes and occupational license are received, and with the projected increase in hydro royalties. Included in these financial statements is the hydro royalty rebates in the amount of $1.28 million. The rebates checks have been mailed out. They were mailed out on the week of November the 16th. These financial statements also include capital outlay of $2.2 million of a $5.4 million budget, or 37% of the total amount budgeted. Through November 16th, 2020, $903,000 has been borrowed for the substation construction to cover materials, engineering costs, and legal fees incurred. The aldermen have been notified before the draws are made so that they can be aware of where the money is being spent. All costs are recorded as a capital asset and as a liability on the balance sheet. The appraisals are complete for the right-of-ways and negotiations are pending. Construction at the city court building is ongoing, but the mold cleanup is finished. We are waiting on the contractor to come and seal the windows before replacing the ceiling tiles and installing flooring in the building. We have received $62,000 this year from FEMA for 75% of the amount needed to cover the actual cost of the fiber optic replacement along the riverfront and repairs to the Vidalia Canal due to the 2019 flood. The town's cost is 25% of the estimated cost to repair. The only items left are costs related to sewer and roadway repairs. The town of Vidalia has applied for federal reimbursements through the State of Louisiana CARES Act and for expenses and costs related to COVID-19. The town has received $488,000. This money is for the actual cost of items including sanitizers, masks, gloves, laptops, and COVID-19 testing. The largest portion is based on payroll for public safety personnel and for employees on leave due to being quarantined. The final application period ended October the 22nd. The reimbursements are based on a first-come, first-served basis. The auditors came the last week in October and stayed 3 days. The report is due to the legislative auditors by December the 31st, but we have not received their report nor any record of findings. That concludes my
Okay. I do want to thank Deborah on that CARES Act. That money, they were on top of all of our expenses related to that. And if you didn't file those things timely, you didn't get any monies. And I've actually heard some mayors say, you know, Mayor, did you apply? I said, well, we have a CPA on staff, and she takes care of all. They going, well, we missed the deadline. We're not getting anything back. And you heard her say what we've been able to get back, and they've done a wonderful job of staying on top of those things. And I really appreciate the work that they've done. Is there any questions on Ms. Moak's report? Okay, one of what she was alluded to as far as your revenues are down, the hydro, if it reaches a certain production level, you know, we don't know whether it's going to reach it during the year. We forecast maybe those incomes are going to be up, but when they do, it goes from $150 a megawatt that Vidalia and Energy have to pay for that power. It goes down to just $30 a megawatt. So those last 3 months that they generated, you know, we receive that royalty, but that royalty was way considerably less than than what we normally would have gotten, and that's the biggest difference of those monies right there. So, all right, let's move. And I do want to thank everybody. I didn't say that. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Number 2 on our agenda is occupational license. Our first one we have is Culinary LLC. Ms. Shannon Cooley, she's here with us this afternoon with her husband, Bernie, and I appreciate y'all opening up a business here in town. Shannon, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing? That's okay.
You'll have to excuse me on that, and I have what I call humor Tourette's, which means I'll just tell stupid jokes when I get nervous. Actually, it started out as just a thought, just a whim, because it got too hot to finish, and I needed something to occupy my time, and I made things like wild ranch crackers and pretzels and sweet and spicy pickles and candied jalapenos, things like that, honeysuckle jelly, and everybody said, well, you should sell this. And so I did, just, you know, to a few friends, and they were like, oh yeah, and I said, well, you know, we want to do this the right way. And so here we are, and hopefully, you know, we'll be part of the community in that respect. Obviously, this has been our home for some time now, but we'd like to get even more involved.
Well, we appreciate what y'all do, not only in that, but also the work y'all do in the education system. Thank y'all so much. I know it's challenging times with COVID and other things. All of our school personnel administration got their hands full juggling that. So, but anyway, is there any questions on Ms. Cooley's application? Do I hear a motion we accept? Motion made by Alderman Probst. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Denby. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. The next thing we have is, I will note that they don't have a sign application yet. We have an outdoor sign application for an existing business, and Ms. Brenda Floyd is here. She is the owner of BB's Fish Fry. and they have been very successful in town, and they've done a wonderful job, and, I ate there today, matter of fact. So, but, anyway, she's asking for, she's asking, there's a two-part ask. The first sign she's asking for is a multicolor LED sign. And Brenda, would you like to address us a little bit about your application and what your thoughts are on it? Because we have some discussion I think we do need to have on it, just for clarification. So go ahead.
Well, it's 16 inches this way, and it's 78 inches, and it would go right under our fish fry sign. It is electronic, and it has a keyboard where I would change the wording on it. And the wording, it's two lines, and we're bringing in barbecue start tomorrow, and I wanted to have a barbecue sign, and it's gonna say barbecue and maybe a rib dinner, but it would scroll, rib dinner, pork plate, sausage, whatever. But then I was told that I really couldn't have a scrolling electronic sign. So anyway, I started looking, but there's 3 or so that are in town, so I don't know if they were grandfathered in, not, if it's changed, I don't really know the right wording on if it's legal or not legal. So that's what I'm coming to y'all for, because that would be the sign that I would like to have. And it would be, mounted right under my fish fry sign, which is just a Bible sign.
And so I guess, and what we need to do is, as a council, is discuss, there are some, some of the requirements of a LED sign are, it's not supposed to have red letters, for example. And we have several in town that are red letters, especially on our service stations and gas stations. And there are some others around town that are lit, that are red lettered, and some of them do scroll, and, it's,
I didn't know the red was an issue, but this one's got, I think, 6 or 8 colors. Red is an issue, or the
well, I think one of what it's calls for is white or amber, I think is what the ordinance calls for. However, right now, as we're going to probably do in a minute, we're going to select a committee to relook at our sign ordinance and try to update it to and make it more realistic with what, is in town, and maybe, but it's whatever they want to do. We're going to be selecting a committee here, but I would like to hear from some of the other committee members what they think, because she has another backup sign. If this isn't something that she would be able to get I don't know if she'd have to go to Board of Adjustments to get a variance and, try to do that, to get that sign approved, or, or wait until, do a temporary sign until we can look at the sign ordinance, maybe change it. It's a lot of choices for us to talk about here tonight, and we certainly want to help you any way we can, but we got to make sure that we stay within our ordinances going forward, so.
As far as the scrolling goes, what if it just said barbecue and then not scroll, but in something else come up?
Well, it can do that, and it's got a time plan. It's supposed to be like 60 seconds. It can stay one thing, but then it's got to have a 3-second delay, then another 60 seconds. It can't be one of those that's going across that you're having to read and you're supposed to be driving. It's supposed to be a statement out there of 60 seconds, all for 3 seconds, and whatever's a different message is another 60 seconds comes back up. That's what's in our ordinance now. And the colors had to show an amber or white. It said the red was prohibited, but we all know we've got red LED and lit signs in town now. So that's why I think that in all fairness, we want to give her options tonight of whether she wants to wait to get that sign, which is her preference, and let her put something temporary up there now to advertise your barbecue, or go ahead and get this secondary sign that you want to do. And I'd be curious to hear from council what they think on that.
I just feel like we need to go with the ordinance, whatever the ordinance says, until we change it.
And I agree with that. I mean, if it's an ordinance, but were the other businesses back,
That's where our code comes in.
okay, so someone's supposed to be checking.
We need to enforce it in a lot of ways.
That's why I'm here. I don't wanna do anything that's not right.
Right.
Especially I don't wanna spend a couple $1,000 on something that I can't use it.
Right, exactly. We certainly want to work with you, because we want you to be successful, and I think you have been. And glad to see you had barbecue also, so.
So we're full start tomorrow.
Pardon?
We're starting tomorrow.
Okay. Well, do you think, again, I don't know how long this timeline's going to be that they're going to, that we're fixing to select forming a committee to investigate redoing our ordinance. Do you, I mean,
Is that gonna be something fast track, like
probably you're looking at,
before the next meeting?
you're looking at least 2 months, even if we get, because usually to change an ordinance, you gotta introduce it, one meeting, and then you vote on it, and you gotta advertise it and everything, then you, actually approve it the next. So you'd be looking at February, honestly, before you would be seeing a chance to,
Okay,
to abide with it by ordinance.
all right, well, let's move to my second sign.
Okay, all right.
And it's just, I think it's called an aluminum, Rhino Graphics makes it, it's aluminum sign. It will not be lit, but I'm gonna have a light facing it.
Okay, okay, yeah, I see that, that's, is there any questions on that sign?
I have a comment.
Okay,
I'm not, tonight just saying that, Ms. Brenda should not have this sign. I'm not saying that. But I do believe that needs to be somewhere that we draw the line and say, if it's in the ordinance, there need to be an abiding of it. And so I'm just sorry that you got caught with it. But I believe, yeah, but I just believe that if you keep going the way, if the ordinance says no red and green, that shouldn't be red and green. Because if it says no scrolling, then there should not be scrolling. And that just should not apply to some people, but anybody who comes forth with a sign,
Or
it
has one up,
right,
exactly.
it should be in compliance. And if you keep ignoring it and grandfathering in and allowing it to happen, then there will never be an ordinance that is going to be, stood by, or that we go by.
I mean, I'm on your side, I agree with that. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's
So we
Okay.
have to draw the line
either a
somewhere.
Right.
blue or not a blue.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
with anything.
And that's just my take on it.
okay, anybody else? All right, she's asked on the second application, she's asked for the Illuminate sign. Do I hear a motion we accept that sign? Motion made by Alderman Probst, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Betts, all in favor say aye. Okay, all right, thank you, Brenda.
The committee will be formed, so it's come down the road, and if y'all agree, whatever.
Right.
Yes.
Bring it back.
Bring it back for,
Mhm.
That's gonna be on item, that's actually on our agenda right here, we're gonna discuss, you'll be welcome to listen to what we're gonna do. Item number 4 on our agenda is board discussion and vote on appointing a 2 board members to form a committee to revise town existing ordinance related to outdoor signage. We're asking, any board members to serve on, 2 board members. Also on that committee would be our counsel, our attorney, Mr. George Murray, and Jay would be participating in as well as Pi. To also be working with them on that. Those meetings that they have are open to the public. They will be advertised. Anytime they're discussing things of that nature has to be advertised and discussed. So, people, if you're watching in the public and you're interested in that, you can certainly show up and do that. I think I've had at least, one councilman, I think maybe 2. I don't know if Alderman Probst said he wanted to serve on it. Alderman Betts said he wanted to be one of those. Did you want to be on that? Okay. So those 2 board members will be on that committee with the others that I listed. We will take minutes of the meetings, and then we will provide back any kind of changes and bring those back to the full council and let them look over them along with public comment, so.
And that was the reason why I had asked to put this on the agenda, because of what was happening. I do think that we have, in the past, we have approved signs that were not in compliance. I mean, I didn't really know about the white lights, but when I started reading it coming up, we've got multiple digital signs out there that should be white or amber. And that's what it says. And when we adopted those sign ordinances, we just didn't take the time to be picky, if you want to say it that way, about the details. And sometimes that'll get you in trouble, especially when you've got somebody that has a business and wants to bring a sign, and then you say, well, we got to follow the ordinance, and we've got signs that's out of compliance. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to put it on the agenda and bring it up so that we can, I think we have an obligation to our businesses to be as friendly as possible with our ordinances. And I think they need to be fair for everyone. And the whole purpose of this is try to get it all on a level field for anybody, whether they're existing or whether they're new, so.
Okay, council, I don't think we have to take any action on this. This is just, they'll meet and start meeting and setting up their own meetings.
Appointed members.
Does it need to be approved? I mean, do we need to,
For them.
pardon?
I don't think the board needs to approve your appointing the members.
Okay. All right, so,
They can meet, get
Sure.
together and decide how they want to run their meetings.
okay. Yes, ma'am.
So right now, there is a sign ordinance that says you can have a digital sign, but the letters have to be white or amber.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It cannot roll, it has to stay.
Yes,
It can change every 60 seconds.
yes.
Yeah, 60 seconds it changes and it waits for,
3 seconds, and then it does another 60
Yeah,
seconds.
that's what I was asking, like, I was wondering if her sign had the capability of
Of doing that.
staying.
yes, it does.
And it does have that
Yeah,
capability.
I can pick whatever color I want and make it stationary, just leave it stationary and change it on Monday.
Right.
or-
Long
Yeah.
as you put in that ordinance, you could go ahead and get it, and then if we do something different, you can go back
Then if y'all say,
and
okay,
your,
y'all
more
can
to
do
your
yellow and
scroll
blue.
or whatever we
Right.
decide to do. As long as it's within
That's
it.
where I was going that while ago, but if the sign has the capability of just sitting there, playing barbecue for so long and then swap something else, I don't see
Well-
why we couldn't prove that.
It's white, it could be white.
White or amber,
White or amber,
or
right,
one line white, one line amber, whatever,
yeah.
because it's two lines.
You
Yep.
can do that.
So can we go back and,
Well, wait a minute.
Well,
No, but I'm just saying that if that's the case, well, of course, I'm gonna cross this over with Leslie and decide, but at this point, if you could have either sign you want, and one of them has to be white or amber and move every 60 seconds, or just have a stationary sign. If either one would work, well, then at that point, we can decide.
That was the only point of contention, was the color and the scrolling.
Yeah.
The sign, your application states it's red and it scrolls.
Well,
But I'm sure that if it's LED, you can make them any color you
yeah,
want.
it's like got 8 colors, and you just choose which one, but I would make it something more ordinate, but if I know white and amber, and they gotta stay stationary, and then every 60,
for a minute.
for a minute, every 60 seconds, it could change.
And that would be perfectly.
But really, what will happen, it'd probably change, I'd probably do it for a little, and then you forget or whatever, and then it stays the same for a week, you know how it is.
Yeah,
Well,
if
that's-
you got John and I go in and redo it, we might add blue or green.
And then when that does come
I mean,
out,
that could
right.
be.
If you want to do you want to rescind the one and if, well, I tell you what. Do y'all want to approve the one we approved and back up and rescind our rejection of that one pending she can, get the sign to do the white or amber and,
Well, I don't think we rejected it.
Never rejected it.
It was not rejected, she just didn't present it.
oh, okay,
She said she was gonna pass on it.
So
okay.
I think we.
Do you want to put it back out there, I guess?
So if I put it back out there, and we say, okay, well, you can do that, and then if I say, well, we're just gonna go with the old fashioned kind, will it matter at that point?
No, because we approved both.
Because we approved both of them.
But the first one would be subject to being white or amber and not scrolling.
Okay, well,
Right.
can I present that? Okay, well, I'll present that one.
All right, and it's subject to the white and amber lettering and not scrolling.
Right, in 60 seconds, and then it blinks off.
30 seconds is what it says, 3 seconds. And then it pops back up for another 60.
Yeah.
Okay?
I would like to have the approval for that.
Okay, sure. She's asked for that. Is there any discussion amongst council? Anybody want to make that motion, subject to those terms?
Like you said, I made that clear.
Yeah.
I make a motion.
Motion made by Alderman Probst, second by Alderman Smith. All in favor, say aye. Okay, let's move on. All right, you're welcome.
There will be one of those two signs.
Okay, all right, and good luck. Okay, number 5 on our agenda is the board discussion and vote on approval of the beer and liquor permits for 2021. You have that list there. Are there any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Gardner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Denby. All in favor say aye. Okay. Number 6 is I have had requests from the representatives on behalf of the Vidalia Cemetery Association, and would one of y'all like to make that presentation? Okay. It's Miss Catherine Cartwright.
Yes, I'm the secretary for the Vidalia Cemetery Association, and we are asking the board for help with our roads in the cemetery. Due to the rising of the river and the city's water, the roads are just about washed out. And we were asking with the reclaim that y'all have, would y'all give us some to help on our roads in the cemetery? We will hold conference, if y'all can do that for us, and we certainly would appreciate it. And we are nonprofit, and we are a city cemetery for the entire community. It's not private, it's a community cemetery. Anything that this board could help us with in that cemetery, we greatly appreciate it.
And I appreciate it. I've met with the association on several occasions, and I've actually rode out there and looked, and their roads do need help, especially during wet times, and they have loved ones they're trying to bury. That is a community cemetery. Anyone can be buried there. Anyone, it doesn't matter your race, your religious affiliation, anyone can be buried there. Keeping that in mind, one of the things that I allowed this to get on our agenda tonight is because if there's a legal way that we can help y'all, we want to do that. And we've started that. I wanted to get the conversation out there, to get the feeling of the council, and also city council, and also I've talked our council a little bit. He's looked into it a little bit. Of course, you know, we'll be, you know, quoting the Louisiana Constitution, you know, Article 7, Section 14's brought up a lot. And there's provisions in there for public use. What is public use? Define public use. And that is brought up a lot of times when you go into these endeavors. And I'm gonna let our council talk a little bit about something. He was our judge for 40, how many years, George?
38.
38 years. He didn't make 40. But he was at a judgeship conference, and he has some documentation. Would you like just to tell us what some of the things that you discovered there?
Sure, just briefly, this actually was a city attorney's meeting back in 19 that I went to after becoming the city attorney again. And one of the items on the presentation was having to do with cooperative endeavors, and this constitutional Article 7, Section 14, which talks about municipalities can't donate property just to anybody, you know, private persons, this and that. And they had during the presentation, they talked about, number one, you can donate property for what's called social welfare, primarily to organizations which, in essence, just do good work for people, for poor people, for things. And also, there was a specific item on donating some asphalt on a state road. Unfortunately, they didn't give a bunch of citations, and so I didn't have time to look up and find out what that was all about. So if that one would pan out to be correct, then that would be really nice for us.
So
Well, I'll make the motion or whatever that needs to be made, that we go on and do an endeavorment or whatever to get this asphalt donated to the Vidalia City Cemetery.
Okay, I think I heard he wanted to make a motion to go on, but I brought this up for discussion. What is council saying until he's looked at, he's not had time to investigate it completely. I do want to just talk about, this is coming strictly out of it. It says for a public purpose, the state and its political subdivisions or political corporations may engage in cooperative endeavors with each other, with the United States or its agencies, or with any public or private association, corporation, or individual. Now, what is public purpose? I'm telling the cemetery, I think we can get you help, but please let us finish our due diligence on researching, making sure we're legal, because I want to make sure we keep ourselves in legal, legal step. And I think, what we're telling you is we want to help you, and if we can legally do it, I think that this council would go along with that. Is that the rest of the council's feeling? So I'd be curious to know what the rest of the council feels about that.
Mayor, there's a motion on the floor to do just that.
Okay, I couldn't hear the motion, I couldn't, could repeat
Alderman
the
Gardner,
motion?
what was your motion exactly?
Well, my motion is, whatever it takes to make sure we do our due diligence, to make sure if we need to do an endearment, whatever, to make sure that the cemetery association gets this donation done. But I want to make sure that I say that as long as the city is in a ethical way of getting it done, legal, everything is legal from a legal standpoint or perspective.
I second that motion.
Okay, I couldn't quite understand it, I hope, did y'all understand?
He's saying he wants to be sure everything's legal.
Yeah.
He wants the town to pursue due diligence properly and.
We gotta know
Okay.
who owns the land, and who owns the property, all that should be, but it's private property, you can't do it,
Well, it's,
And if it's not owned by, who is it owned by, who's the actual property owned by? That's my question.
It could be private property, actually,
It can be.
it said, that's what this
It
just
can be.
said, private,
private person.
corporation or individual.
But
When that property was donated to the cemetery association to be used as a cemetery.
right.
So therefore, it's not private property, it's public property.
No,
And
it's private property.
Huh?
It's private property, who's on the books in the courthouse, I guess you'd say. I mean, that's what you'd have to go by. Just like if we give up a road, going back to our post office day, we wouldn't be able to go into a road until we had it signed over in the courthouse, and it no longer belonged to that guy, it belonged to the city or whoever, the county or whoever it was when we go on that road. Same thing here, they wouldn't touch it. So we need to look into that, I guess.
Alderman Probst, in this particular circumstance, I don't think the ownership is really an issue. For instance, if they just had a lease, or somebody gave them permission to do things, if the purpose of what they want is appropriate,
Right.
then the ownership wouldn't matter.
So we could get them from the state, we could get reclaim or anything else, they could get it from the state or us or anybody, is what you're
Right.
saying.
Yes.
The problem is it's legal, that's all we need to know.
And that's all we want to do, and we want to help, I want y'all to be perfectly clear that we want to help, and we're going to make sure, and I promise you, we will get an answer. It's been a motion made, a second. Is any other discussion on it? I think once we satisfy ourselves that it's legal and we're within our rights to do that, the next question would be is the amount and to what degree, because we're still using a lot of this material on our, Ricky, aren't we
Go
still,
for it and get
are we still using some of that material on our sewers and building that up? We're still doing it, yeah. We still got more road projects to do that we will keep that overlay as well. So there's gonna be more coming, and we have a lot of it, so it's just, we certainly wanna help them. And, I also think it might help as well as if it's done right and the right culverts are put under these roads, that it'd help a lot with the seepage water during those times that they won't have as much problem through there, so. So a motion's made, second's been made, by Alderman Denby. Is there any more discussion? All right, I'm gonna do a roll call vote.
Motion before the board, offered by Alderman Gardner and seconded by Alderwoman Denby, is for the town to pursue due diligence to make sure that the donation of the requested reclaim is proper to the cemetery. Alderman Betts,
Yes.
Alderwoman Denby,
Yes.
Alderman Gardner,
yes.
Alderman Probst, Alderman Smith. Mayor, let the record show the votes on the motion, yeas are 5, nays are 0. The motion passes.
Okay. Thank y'all. Appreciate your patience.
Thank y'all, we want to appreciate and thank y'all for being concerned enough to give us the help. And like Bud said, anybody that wants to can be buried in that cemetery. It is in the building. Anybody.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to number 7, report on costs associated with necessary repairs to water well number 1. I'm going to refer our department head, Mr. Ricky Roth. Rick?
The budgeting estimate that y'all all have, that's just a rough idea, it's not anything dialed down. We have to go in and rehab well 1, necessary evil. We did well 2 last year. And it's just time for well 1 to be done, the pump capacity's down. We have to go in there and pull the pump out, get a camera down the hole so we can see what's wrong with it. And then these following costs will adjust from that camera footage. It may be more, it may be less, but, this is the same quote, same estimate that they gave us for well 2, and the actual costs come in $20,000 cheaper. They're doing it on time and material, and they don't mess around, so they're gonna charge us for what they actually do. Once we get the camera footage, we can do what we have to do.
Tell them one of the dangers of not rehabbing that well 1. It was starting to pull sand, and
You just won't have a well 1 at some point. Well 1 doesn't pump enough volume to the water plant to sustain the demand from the city on any given day. If the water plant would run 24/7 and it would steady be losing ground. So if we wanna have 3 water wells, this is where we're gonna have to go with this. The pumps, according to Griner here, the pumps are good for an average 8 to 12 year lifespan before it's time to start looking at placing the pump. And that pump was put in after the 2011 flood, so we're right on par with the pump life. It's just that time.
okay, any questions?
Well 3 was done in 2016, and it brand new drilled well. It should be good for at least that 8 to 12 year period, and then well 2 was last year, and then well 1 will be coming up now, so we ought to be good after this for a pretty good while.
And tell them what you was gonna do as far as anytime you have a pump and a well, the harder you pull it, the worse, it's not good, as good on the well. Y'all are gonna kind of split time between them, is that what y'all are gonna do to try to?
It's always been ran that we run a well a month. First of the month, you switch to the next well in line, 1, 2, or 3. So that puts 2 months downtime on each well that's not in service, running at a time. I see where that was done from a longevity standpoint for the well. You're running it less, you're running it easier. It should last longer, but that's not the case according to the well guys. I'm not a well guy. They say the downtime is likely to do more harm than good with stopping up the bottom of the well, the screens. It's getting clogged up. We're gonna run at their recommendation, we're gonna switch on the 1st and the 15th, and we're gonna run 2 wells in tandem rather than 1 well wide open as much water as it'll pump. We're gonna turn the motors down with VFDs, and we're gonna drop it to half of the load on 2 separate wells. And we're gonna go from 1 to 2 on the 1st to 2 to 3 on the 15th, and just keep continuing that cycle. Put more use time on the wells. They say that that'll keep the screens from getting clogged up, and maybe we'll go way further than that 8 to 12 year period then. But that's where we're at on well 1.
Okay, any
Time to rehab it.
Any questions? This is for information, this wasn't in our budget, of course, I think it's something we have to do. This is something I would like to get approved. It would be added to our budget, and and now this is probably gonna take how long to get done?
They're coming next week to do the initial camera. We have to go ahead and get it going, because after they do all the pump tests and the camera footage, we're 5 to 6 weeks on getting a pump. Then they have to come back and put it in. I mean, we're a couple months out if we had started yesterday.
Okay. All right, is there any questions? I hear a motion, we go ahead and approve this this repair?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Betts. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Ricky. Okay, number 8 is board discussion and vote on approval of a resolution to accept that the contract as noted between Womack and Sons and Town of Vidalia for construction at the Vidalia Port has been successfully completed. And with us, we have Wiley Guilfoyle and Brian Killen. Wiley, would you like to speak to and basically give a quick rundown on where we're at and what this is entails?
Sure, Mayor, thank you. We are completing the bulk conveyor, which will finally get us into operation. Total cost on the project is $8.7 million. We've had some plan changes, but we're still within the money, and the sources of funds for the project were 2 separate capital outlay issues. We are in the final stages of negotiating a contract for the operation of the bulk conveyor. The contractor has finished the contract with the exception of a few punch list items. The notice of substantial completion has been filed. The 45-day no lien period ended yesterday. We have a no lien certificate. So from completion of those punch list items, the project will be complete. We had a report at today's court meeting where it was indicated that those punch list items ought to be completed toward the end of this week. So we ask for your approval of the resolution, subject to the completion of those punch list items. That will allow us to proceed towards final payment. And of course, by having it completed, we'll be able to get it leased and hopefully some revenue coming back in, and it being operable and benefiting, the public and moving, bulk goods.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Well, we had a little meeting with him. I want you to be sure what I asked for.
Yes, sir.
Make the public aware of what happens if, by chance, we don't get an operator, about the 1-year warranty. Once we approve this, we have how long on warranty on all our goods that are involved?
We have a 1-year warranty, from the date, as I understand it, the date of, final completion, which would be the payment of the last amount. So that would be sometime, based on your approval of the resolution tonight, would be sometime in January. You'd have a year warranty, so the following January. But as Mr. Tommy, asked us, he said, who would be responsible for repairs if we were unable to get a terminal operating company, to operate the facility? And
In that year period.
yes, sir. Then, the city of Vidalia would be responsible for those repairs. I would add that, if we don't have a terminal operator company and it's not running, you're not gonna have a great deal of repairs, but you would probably have some maintenance, because you're gonna have to run it just every once in a while just to keep the bearings from getting flat spots and things like that.
Okay.
But I really don't have an estimate on it.
But they
I
are,
just want to be sure we make everybody aware, we are responsible, even though we've completed it. If we don't get an operator, the city will still be responsible for any repairs that have to be made. Even if they get it within a year, we get an operator, and they crank it up, and something goes wrong, the warranty's gone, we gotta pay for it.
Yeah.
But we gotta move forward to be able to make it produce.
and they're negotiating with a terminal
They
operator now.
are in good negotiations, they
Yeah.
told us that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking real good
Yeah.
for operator at this point.
It does so far. The questions that we got back on the list and we responded to, the differences are very, very minor.
Okay. Any more questions from council? Do I hear a motion that we approve this resolution?
Make a motion.
Motion made by Alderman Probst, second by Alderman Denby. All in favor say aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wiley. Okay, number 9 is board discussion and vote on approval of replacement hires for Bidet Police Department. We have Delmarcus Johnson as a full-time patrol officer and Angelina Johnson as a part-time dispatcher, and she has a call-in as needed. Any questions of the chief or our assistant chief that's here?
I'd like to hear some discussion from, the chief as to, the approval of this, person replacement. Would like you to give us some information as to why you are needing this person,
Okay,
or people, because you have two.
the part-time dispatcher is, we have a full staff. She's not gonna be full-time, she's not gonna have any benefits. All she is, she's already trained, she's already ready to go. So when somebody calls in sick, we'll call her to keep from paying overtime or having to call somebody that is off on their day off to come in. So she'll work, and during somebody, gets COVID, vacation, or whatever, just for the time being. She's only called in after she's in work when we call her. And the other one, we've been short pretty much the whole year with employees. We're still short 3 officers as of right now, even with Delmarcus. So this is just gonna be a somewhat back up to par on fulfilling these vacancies.
Okay, any other discussion?
Is the officer certified?
I'll say what I've always
The one that
said.
we hired now is already post certified. He's ready to go. We don't have to send him to any kind of school whatsoever.
Okay,
Is that,
Still one,
Delmarcus Johnson, already certified?
already certified.
okay,
I have something to say.
okay,
As I always have said, it seems like every month we're hiring a dispatcher or officer. Seems like it has to be something within the office itself where every month we're hiring a new person. Every month for the last 6 months, I know we have hired a new police officer and a new dispatcher. I mean, sometimes we have to take a look within ourselves to see what are we doing or what are we not doing so this won't happen.
okay.
Is this because of a turnover, or
The
what?
dispatcher is just to help out.
No, I mean, Delmarcus.
The officer is because of the turnover.
Any other discussion? All right, do I hear a motion to approve these hires?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Alderman Betts to approve them. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Alderman Denby. We'll do roll call.
Motion before the board, offered by Alderman Betts and seconded by Alderwoman Denby, is to approve the replacement hires for the Vidalia Police Department of Delmarcus Johnson, full-time patrol officer, and Angelina Johnson, part-time dispatcher. Alderman Betts,
4.
Alderwoman Denby,
Yes.
Alderman Gardner,
No.
Alderman Probst, Alderman Smith. Mayor, let the record show the vote on the motion is as follows. Yeas are 3, nays are 2. The motion passes.
Okay. All right, let's move on to item number 10 is board discussion and vote on approval of a purchase of new equipment for Vidalia Police Department not included in the current budget. If Joy, I will both, I guess, kind of, Joy brought to me, there's a grant program right now in place where it's through it's Red River Delta that works as an organization that works with all the law enforcement agencies, and there's a grant program where they have these machines that will, flash your speed limit, but also they have a camera system in them that, not for tickets, they do not write tickets, let me make this perfectly clear. They will identify, from what I understand, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, they will identify license tags, and I think the initial place they want to put them is coming into town and off the bridge. And for example, it's going to be a network amongst a lot of other law enforcement agencies that's going to help them maybe find somebody that is trying to take flight and be somebody that's running Amber Alerts. That's going to help identify maybe if that car goes there and it recognizes it and it's in some kind of database, it will alert somebody that that car just came off that bridge. So I can see the need for that. And also, it's going to help with the speeding, I think, as well, as when somebody's coming off there, they see their speed. But it's not, let me make perfectly clear, this is not to write tickets for our citizens. And after so many, I think the machines cost $20-something thousand a piece? $25,000 a piece, and the town can, it would be, we can get two, we qualified for two under the grant, and our cost would be $6,600 a piece, I think. Is that correct? This is going to take, I think it's going to be a few months off for it coming to fruition. But after this time, the grant period, they will have to go through some documentation on with these signs, and they have to keep up to date with that. And after that time, they automatically become the towns. After how long do they?
3 months.
3 months, they automatically belong to the town. So you're basically getting $50,000 worth of equipment, machinery, but they will continue to monitor for 3 years the license, the license plates and the things coming into, yeah.
All the cloud, the storage is all gonna be free for 3 years. No cost to the city for 3 years.
So,
So what happens after the 3 years?
They become ours,
What's the cost?
after 3 months. The only cost to the city after that is gonna be the storage.
So what would that cost?
We probably have to get with, IT people. to
You
find
talking about we would pay a fee for storage?
It'll be a fee for the storage for the, if we want to. We don't even have to continue reading the license plate. But that's only if we want to store.
Okay, so what are we gonna actually gain out of it personally as a city?
Okay.
If we're not gonna write tickets,
What we're gonna gain is either gonna be, we can move them wherever we want to. If we got a street where we got control speed, we can move it, it's gonna flash the speed limit, that's gonna be a deterrent. Also, if we got somebody that's kidnapped a child, or somebody that's a felon that somebody's looking for, and we got them riding around our town, it's gonna notify and alert us. And also, it's gonna go into a bigger system throughout the state. So it's gonna notify, it's gonna be connected all into one unit. It's a big network, so.
but most of it will be coming in town, going out of
We
town.
can put them where.
I have something to say.
But really and truly, that's where you're gonna find the most help probably for the state or whoever, because of the traffic that's closed through here.
They would probably, it just depends on where the road going out of town, like by Bungie, that's a heavily traveled road for people that wanna
Right.
go around places. Carter Street is a funnel, that's why we gotta allow 2 of them. You got cities like Alexander and Pineville, I think Alexander got allowed 4, Pineville got allowed 2, the parish got allowed 2. I think we was the only city in the parish that got allowed in, and it's a big deal, and the reason being is we're a funnel right here at the moment.
I know that.
So you got a lot of, you got a lot of traffic. It's a network for people that are trying to dodge bigger cities to come through here. So it's definitely a good deal.
Chief Mayor, I have a question.
I have something to say as well. I think I stated that earlier. My thing is, if we keep hiring all these officers, if we're gonna continue to hire all these officers, why can't they be the watch out? Why do we need to go over the budget? Because this will be taking the police department $12,000 over their budget. If we purchase this, why can't you just wait till next year and add it in your budget for next year versus this year?
Because this is a one-time deal,
It's a
it's probably
grant.
won't ever get this is, probably won't ever get this opportunity with this type of machinery again.
I personally just feel like we need to stick within our budget and not go outside of our budget, and we need to utilize all these officers that we keep hiring every month.
Okay, that's how, I mean, that's his way he feels. I mean, anybody else want to comment on it?
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question, Chief, is, I heard you say that, if someone is speeding, it will denote that, or it will flash that speed.
It'll flash for speed, just like, I think we have some at each school. We have some at each school, and what that does, that's a deterrent to slow cars down.
Okay, but is there any way that it's relayed back to the police department?
The speed is not, it's just to show you how fast you go. Now,
It's courtesy for the driver, right?
if you, it's just I'm going 35 to show you, or 45, whatever it may be, it's not recorded. The
It will
only
show
thing that's
the
recorded.
speed that the driver is
That's
traveling.
right, it'll show the speed. The only thing that's recorded is the license plate.
The license plate.
And we actually have one of these going into Natchez on the other side of the bridge. So, and we utilized it numerous times and been able to call to catch umpteen criminals with the one that they have over there, utilizing theirs. When something happens in the day and they cross the bridge, we know what direction they went.
Okay, so is this money in the budget?
Ms. Deborah, I think we have some extra in there, it probably is, but as always, I want to get y'all on board with it, but it probably is enough in our budget to go ahead and get it, but like I said, as always, I like to get y'all on board.
Okay, any other questions? No other questions? Do I hear a motion to go ahead and approve to accept the purchase of the new equipment provided by the grant?
I make the motion.
Motion made by Alderman Demme. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second made by Alderman Betts. Let's do a roll call.
Sorry, Brent.
Motion before the board is offered by Alderwoman Demby, seconded by Alderman Betts, is to approve the purchase of new equipment for the Vidalia Police Department, included in the grant described. Alderman Betts,
Yes.
Alderwoman Demby,
Yes.
Alderman Gardner,
Let it reflect that my vote is no due to him being outside of his budget, yet not sticking within his budget. My vote is no.
Alderman Gardner's vote is no due to the fact that it's outside his budget. Alderman Probst? Alderman Smith? Mayor, let the record show the vote on the motions as follows. The yeas are 4, the nays are 1. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, like you said, he might even have it.
This is a once in a, I doubt we ever get this opportunity again with the grant, this type of machinery, so I mean, it's.
And as far as Robert was saying about.
No other way we could.
There's no way the officers can sit there and keep up with every license plate in town. That's just
Yeah.
impossible.
And there would be no other way possible that we could, probably would ever been able to get these machines if it hadn't been for this grant. So
Okay.
I'm real excited.
All right, let's move on. Number 11 is board discussion and vote on approval of the resolution to accept and award bid for 3 protective relay panels substation project to Keystone Electrical in the amount of $48,841.53, and to authorize the mayor to execute any and all documents related to the said project. Of course, y'all know this is related to continuing with our substation project that's ongoing. So any discussion or question? Deborah's been doing a good job of keeping y'all updated on where we're at on the whole project. So everything's really coming along very well, I think. I see the pads are being built now, and they're coming right on along. So if no discussion, I hear a motion to approve this resolution. Motion by Alderman Smith. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Probst. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, one more thing that we got. I was going to give y'all a report on LEPA number
What'd you
1.
say, Robert?
Y'all are very familiar with LEPA
Yes.
number 1, and we have been keeping, I've been keeping you abreast of everything that we've done with it. As you know, this is the power generating plant down in Morgan City that is a turbine-fired, gas-fired unit that went into operation, I think, in April or May of 2016. It was all done before we had got in office. However, we own 10.3% of that plant. The machine, the turbine was supposed to be a 25-hour machine that wouldn't give you a whole lot of maintenance issues other than annual maintenance and so forth, but it went down with 13,000 hours on it. And it's been something, we have a note, bond obligation that our part has been running us on average $1 million to $1.2 million a year, I would think. Is that correct, Deborah? What we have to pay on our, just in notes and expenses associated with this since we have been in office. Those, it's now, I think our last bill last month was 120 or 115. So it went down, and so what we did, we negotiated. We also went after GE and our insurance agent, and we were able to settle. I can't disclose that amount with them right now, what we got. And we got a rebuilt turbine with low hours, 100 hours on it, or one that had low hours and worked a deal. And all of the agency cities made a deal, and I think it was $6 million, and we had some offset with that from the insurance. And GE has installed that turbine this year, and it started operating, ran fine, but well, now that one's down. So this is just to let you know we had a meeting, and we went in executive session talking to GE, and basically that's probably going to go to trial against GE. It's a real complicated thing. I would be glad to visit with anybody in my office to go over. It's a lot of information, a lot of discussion. However, I just think our citizens need to be aware of it. It does add a cost to our electricity bill, honestly, it does. And it's a real expense, and we're trying to do everything we can to get out of it or make it better where we can not have such a hard hit. We've been able to handle it even and still be competitive in our energy rates. We're very, very competitive with Concordia Electric and Energy, which is the only other two options to our citizens were those two. And I can promise you we're very competitive, and people get a lot more than just power and electricity in their utilities. So this is just for information. I did want you to know that right now there's no income. The plant is not generating, but there could be another litigation involving GE. But right now those discussions are ongoing with counsel for LIPA. And just want you to know that we're going to try to do the best for our citizens and the best for all the member cities that belongs to LIPA 1 and full participants. So any questions? I'll be glad to answer any questions.
So
Anybody?
you're saying as a result of this downtime for this, whatever, this unit?
Ma'am?
Are you saying as a result of the downtime of the unit,
Mm-hmm.
that the utilities will be?
Well, it goes into our power cost adjustment. It's part of the power cost adjustment, that bill, Ms. Denby. There's a note, there's a bond with that, and that bond runs anywhere from $65,000 to $70,000 a month just for the bond. Well, the operation of the plant is also now the salaries, overhead, insurance, and all those things, which normally pushes it. Well, if you have revenues, that offsets a lot of that expense that you can basically, absorb and not be so bad. But since it's been in operation, the town has actually paid. It's never made money. It's never even paid its note. It's never paid its expenses since it's been in operation. It's just been a bad arrangement, and something I just hate to see our town in. Of course, nobody here sitting in this room had anything to do with that. But it's something we're going to have to deal with. I will keep you posted on it best I can. Our town's strong. It's just a shame that it's an added cost to everybody's utility bill. And that's just, I'm being honest. So, but I will keep you informed as things move along on this. And I personally would like for us at some point, once it gets up and running, there's going to be a strike price, I think, in there. We ought to try to sell it even at a loss and just have to be obligated to some bondholders to pay that debt and not have any benefit. But that's not something we would do without talking to our whole community, our whole citizenship as we move forward. So If anybody wants to research it, it's called LEPA, Louisiana Energy Power Authority. It's in Lafayette. The plant is called LEPA number 1. It's in Morgan City. You can Google it and just see whatever you'd like to verify what I'm telling you. So it's, there's 17 member cities of LEPA, but there's 6 full participants in LEPA 1. And those are Houma, Plaquemines, Rayne, Morgan City, Jonesville, and Bidet. The other member cities are cities like Natchitoches, Alexandria, Abbeville, Winfield, on and on. There's 17 other member cities that are are members of LEPA. Okay? So we meet once a month down in Lafayette as a full board. Each mayor is on the board by virtue of their position, and we meet and deliberate these things going on. So any questions? I'll be glad to entertain any questions if anybody has a question on this. But I want to keep everybody aware of that situation. Okay. If no other business, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Alderman Probst, seconded by Alderman Best. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Merry
Thank y'all for
Christmas,
coming.
everybody.
Yeah, everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Robert, thank you. Hey, Brian.
Uh-oh.